Welcome to Women's Wellth, the podcast with me, Joanne. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower you all to step into your own life of wealth. That feeling of being so rich in your mind, body, and soul. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get straight into it. Hello, beautiful people. How are we all? Very happy to be here today, and I have a beautiful guest with me. I'm very excited to speak to this lady that I have sitting in front of me. I have Lindsay with me today, who is yoga teacher, wellness enthusiast, and I met Lindsay through social media, and her Instagram posts were just really inspiring. I'm going to ask her to share more about herself, and I was like, I need to get this woman onto the podcast because she has things to say and people need to listen. So I will hand it over to you. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk with you as well. I feel like, when you get talking about stuff that you experience yourself and you're really passionate about and you love, like the conversation can just go. It can just go and go and go. So if I ever start talking too much, let me know.
Don't worry, I do it all the time. Even when I'm recording my podcast, I'm like, what am I saying?
You just want to ramble.
So tell us a little bit about you, first of all, before we get into the nitty gritty.
So, okay, I guess where do I even start? Well, I'm from the US. I'm from Wisconsin, small little place. And I moved away after college. I felt kind of like I really wanted to experience something outside of the US. I went to school to be a teacher. So I have that as my background in education. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a great way to travel, go teach English in another country. I don't know, I didn't know exactly what was going to be kind of the path, but I just knew that I wanted to leave Wisconsin. So I ended up moving to Thailand. I had a friend that went there and she was teaching and she was just like, this is exactly what you would love. You need to go there. This is a place for you. And I went there thinking, I'm just going to go for 6 months. I'll just do a semester or a year of teaching in a school year. And then I'll be back, that's kind of what I thought would happen. And I ended up living there for 3 years. I just loved it. I loved it. It felt so easy I don't know, it was so fun. I had such a really cool life experience to go completely by myself. I didn't know anybody. And it was kind of really eye-opening for me to just spend some solid time by myself and get out of my comfort zone, learn all that stuff. And then I ended up moving to Abu Dhabi, and I've been here now this is my 6th year here. So it's been nearly 10 years outside of the US, and it's been a really interesting journey, to say the least. I feel like there's just been so many different phases of my life since I left Wisconsin. And I think even the person I was 10 years ago, I mean, anybody can say that, not even if you haven't left your home state or wherever you're from. They're just a completely different person after 10 years, and I really believe that. I went through such a transformation in myself. And then I've been I was telling you earlier that I wear so many different hats with my job. I've really tried so many different things. I taught online for a while. I was kind of doing this digital nomad lifestyle. I was always just kind of let me just dabble in this and see if it resonates with me. Let me see if this works. Maybe I'm going to like this more. It was never coming from a place of I don't have enough experience, so I need to do this. It was I want to learn something new, and maybe it's going to spark something in me, So yeah, I've been living here for 6 years and I'm still teaching. I still work in a school full time. So I'm doing that as my day job. And then I'm also now teaching yoga, which to me was such a 10 years ago, I mean, I started practicing yoga many, many years ago. And 10 years ago, I was taking yoga classes and I was like, I really want to be a yoga teacher. I think this is like, I feel that that's something I could do. I really enjoy it. I'm good at it. I feel that I'm good at connecting with people. I want to try and, I don't know, see if that works. But at the time, I didn't have the money. I was kind of, I was traveling, I was young, and I just, yeah, I couldn't make it happen at the time. It wasn't the right time, I guess. And I actually ended up going to the yoga teacher training last year. So August 2023. Yeah, last year. And I'm like, wait, what year is it? And I went there because I was going through a huge life change and I was feeling very disconnected from myself and very disconnected to my path in life. I didn't really know kind of where I was going to go from where I was, and I was kind of in like a really dark place. And I felt like, you know what? This is the time. This is the time to go do that yoga retreat. I'm going to, even if nothing comes of it, even if I end up not teaching yoga after doing it, I knew that going there was going to like put me on this path of trying to understand what I was going to do and or at least get some inspiration for something, meet some new people, open some new doors. And it is honestly the best thing I've ever done for myself. Going to that yoga training was the most transformational experience I've had in my life. And I mean, I cried every day pretty much. I laughed a lot, but I cried a lot. And it was just like this huge release for me of like, okay, I'm starting this new phase and I feel like something new, something good, something positive is going to come from this. So I was already really excited. But then it was also like, I'm getting into my body. I'm releasing a lot of this stuff that I was storing for so long and connecting with like 30 women, which was so beautiful, like such a sisterhood. So yeah, and it put me on such a beautiful path. I felt like very energized after that retreat. And I came back to Abu Dhabi and I was very much like, yeah, this is exactly what I need to be doing. So I started teaching right away because my yoga teacher there was like, don't wait, start teaching, even if it's just to your friend or your family or whoever, just start getting into it. And I did. And I was like, I love this. This is so great. This is so fun. I feel so like passionate about it. It was like really set me on fire. Um, and it was really like, I mean, I saw such a benefit in myself from practicing yoga. Even before I went to the yoga retreat, I started practicing probably like 6 months before I went, like consistently. I got really back into the practice. And it was during those 6 months that I was like, wow, this is doing so much for me, for my mental health, for my life, for my, just, I don't know, opening something in me. And it was like, I went to that training, I came back and I was like, this is so my purpose now because I really see that transformational feeling in myself. I see what a change I've made. I see how much happier I am. Just an overall better person at this point. And not that I was like a bad person, but I was in a bad place. I wasn't myself and maybe making mistakes that I didn't really want to be making. And I felt so much more at peace with myself. So I felt like there's probably plenty of people that are also dealing with these same things that I went through. And if I can just show them through yoga how easy it is to just connect back with yourself and make that positive change in yourself, yeah, that was my purpose.
Oh, I love
So
that. Your story is very similar to mine. I used to be a school teacher. I came to Dubai as a school teacher and I taught for 6 years here. And then 2 years been doing my wellness, yoga, healing, mentorship. So I totally resonate with everything that you've just said and just having having lived it and sort of taken it, it is taking a leap of faith, isn't it? It's doing something that, I don't know if people say to you, and people say it to me now still, actually, even though it's my business, like, oh, how's your yoga going? Like, it's how is this going? And it's something that people generally, they don't just have a career. Like, teaching is a solid career. Like, if we allowed it until you're 60, 65, or whatever age we're told that we retire nowadays, and finding something, and it doesn't have to be yoga, but finding a passion and then taking a leap, think, right, okay, and like you said, I want to learn more about this, and if something comes of it, amazing. If not, you've got that immense amount of growth, haven't you?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
You may not have ever taught yoga, but you had your sisterhood while you were there, 30 women. Wow, powerful, being surrounded. And if anyone listening to this has never done a sister circle or been somewhere where women are gathering together, not in a club, nightclub, gym, where they are being vulnerable and opening up and sharing, it is so powerful. So even just that experience on your own life
Yeah.
is life changing, just to be shown the power of women in that way.
Yeah,
um,
exactly. That was a big part of it for me, was like, wow, I'm finally in a group of women that are all looking for the same kind of thing. Like, we're all looking for the connection, we're looking for the community, we're looking for inspiration, we are looking for vulnerability, acceptance. And it was such a beautiful way to get into that, all of that, and to feel really like fully seen by everybody because we're all feeling it, you know? So that was great.
And before you took your leap and you did your teacher training, and I know you were practicing, what was it that, did you have like a feeling of something's missing? And I know you said that you were going through a dark time, and what was it that attracted you, or what did you feel like you needed to fill, that sort of yoga for you took that space,
Yeah.
or gave you that mental space?
I feel like I skipped over a little bit in my story. So when I was in Thailand and I was making the transition to come to here, I went to nutrition school because I felt like, I was evaluating my teaching job and I was feeling not that fulfilled with that job. I was feeling a little bit like, maybe this isn't my path. Maybe this isn't something that I want to do forever. I was just questioning, I just had questions. I didn't feel like, maybe I wasn't sure. So I wanted to explore different things. So I went to nutrition school because I thought, I've always been, I like the idea of coaching. I like the idea of connecting with people. I like chatting with people. I was really interested in my own health. At the time, I was going through some health issues. Like, I had some hormone imbalances, like as women do. We seem to, if you take birth control and like you get off birth control, and that whole journey is a very common one. Yeah. And so I was dealing with that, and I had really severe acne. And I was kind of like, okay, something's off. I need to figure out what it is. And I didn't know what to trust on the internet. It was just like all these people telling me what to do with my skin. And I didn't really, people that never had acne are telling me what to do with my skin. And I don't know. I just felt like I want to learn for myself. So I actually went to nutrition school because I thought this is going to be an internal thing, like to help balance my hormones, balance my blood sugar. Maybe that's part of the whole acne thing. Um, so going into that program was just for myself, really, at the time. It was just, I'm going to learn about myself. I'm going to learn about my hormones. I'm going to learn about my menstrual cycle, what I need to be eating in certain phases, all of that. Like, I went through a whole deep dive. And I mean, eventually my skin cleared. It wasn't right away though. It took a long time, even after the program. And I just felt very much like I want to connect with people, either in a nutrition space or talking about skincare or just talking about wellness in general. I just felt that that was like pulling me, it was something that was, yeah, exciting to me. So, I did that. And then COVID happened. So it wasn't a great time to be, a coach, an online coach. I didn't know. It just wasn't, yeah, it wasn't working at the time for me to transition from teaching in a school to coaching full time. And then, yeah, I went through like a really dark time during COVID, and not because of COVID. I actually love being at home. I'm such a homebody person. So I felt like working at home, yeah, I felt like working at home was like, yes, this is a gift. I get to be at home with my cat. And I just felt super like, I mean, of course, I didn't like what was happening with COVID, and I didn't wish anything bad on anybody, but I was excited to be at home. And it actually was such a blessing for me because at that time, right in 2020, in September, I lost my sister and her husband. And it was like just one of those moments where I'm like, if I was at work right now, I would not be able to be at work right now. So it was a blessing to be at home, you know?
Is that through COVID or?
It was, yeah, it was in the beginning of COVID, like September 2020.
Okay. And you lost your sister through COVID?
Oh, no, 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 no. It
Okay.
wasn't through COVID. No.
Okay.
So, yeah, and obviously that put me into like a super negative spiral of just, yeah, and during COVID, I couldn't fly home, and it was like just being kind of isolated, and yeah, just really lost, super, super lost, not sure like, what does this mean? What does this mean for me? Do I need to change something in my life? Like I just, at the time, I couldn't even think that way. I was just numb, didn't feel anything, was just very like, nothing. Um, and at that time too, it was kind of like I was starting to really not like my job. I was feeling like this teaching thing, this is not for me. I don't feel that this is my passion anymore. And then on top of that, grieving while you're being a teacher is really hard. I mean, it's hard anytime. It's hard anytime. But if you have to manage a class of however many students and you need to manage all of their emotions while managing your own at the same time and put on a happy face and be all bubbly and everything, I couldn't do it. I was like so not functioning. I was very low vibes for like 2 straight years. I couldn't get out of it. I was very negative. I was super yeah, depressed. I had anxiety all the time. I felt like super lost with my job, and I didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to do. Um, and I just felt like my health was declining because I was depressed and because I was anxious. I was just very irritable, like all day long. I wasn't eating properly because I was so tired. I was super burnt out from my job. It was just this negative cycle that never ended. And it just felt like, oh my God, okay, I'm waking up, I'm going to work, I'm coming home, I'm sleeping. Like I just slept as much as possible. That was like my coping mechanism, was just to sleep because it passed the time and it was easier to just deal with stuff. But I think all of that was really like stuck in my body. Like I didn't feel those things. I just slept through it all. So it's stored in my body. And I was very like, I was like frozen. I wasn't super happy, or I was faking that I was happy. So I was kind of like, trying to just pretend like, oh, I'm me, I'm Lindsay, I'm my positive, bubbly self. It doesn't matter. Everything's good. When it so wasn't. And I was in a relationship at the time, and that relationship really came to an end because I couldn't even function for myself. How was I going to be a partner for somebody else? I couldn't take care of myself. So yeah, that was kind of like, that was a really negative cycle for some time. And then I knew, I mean, I've gone through hard things in my life in the past. Maybe not this hard, but I've gone through hard things where I've been like more resilient and kind of like, okay, I know this is going on right now, but I need to do this in order to get to this. At this point, I just had I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know. I've never dealt with a death like this before. So I don't really know how to come back from this, you know? And I kind of had forgotten everything about what I learned in nutrition school. You know, I forgot everything. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't fueling my body. I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't sleep. I mean, I was sleeping way too much. It was just, you know, thing after thing that was just not good for me. So my first step, like there was just one day that I was like, this is not okay. Like I can't live like this. I'm not living. I've just wasted 2 years of my life sleeping, basically. And I need to figure out what I'm going to do. I need to make a plan. I need to make an action plan, you know, like just sitting here and journaling isn't going to do it for me. I need to like get into my body, release a lot of this stuff. And I knew that. I knew that I needed to do that. And I kind of had to just go back to everything I learned in school and try to get back on track with nutrition first. That was kind of the first thing I did. I was like, all right, let me just start eating something good once a day at least, you know? I mean, I was eating a lot of random stuff, but like I wanted like one good, proper, healthy meal at least once a day. That was the first goal that I had, you know, just to get some energy back into my life. And then I went on a trip with my friend, my best friend. We went to Bali, as we do, you know, just the place where there's so much positive energy and inspiration. And yeah, I had just a really beautiful trip with her where it was just like, okay, you know what? This is the start. I'm going to make some changes in my life. I'm feeling inspired. I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm feeling like the greenery of Bali has, I don't know, you know, gotten me back to myself a little bit. And I felt like I was finally ready to leave that era of negativity. I was like, I know that I need to make some changes, and now I'm ready to make those changes. And that's when I decided that I was going to go to the yoga training because I was just like, this is going to be the thing that helps the most.
Just interrupting this episode to remind you to please like, subscribe, drop 5 stars if you enjoy listening to my podcast. It really does mean the world to me. And also to remind you, you can now watch every episode on my YouTube channel. Head to YouTube, type in Joanne Wellth, and I'll see you there.
And was that like, I'm guessing you just got a huge intuitive, because we know, like you said, sometimes we know the things that we need to do, but we just can't do it. And especially if you're grieving, of course you were sleeping a lot because you're spending, teaching is exhausting, full stop. So
yeah,
have something else going on. And this is something I struggled with as a teacher. I didn't have a death, but similar, just around the same time as you lost your sister, my dad got diagnosed with cancer. And I can remember just teaching the kids, and I just in my head thinking, I just don't care. My dad's got cancer, and I'm stood here teaching you how to write a simile or a metaphor, and I just couldn't. And I did because it was my job, and I had to get up every day, and I had to show up, and I had to do it, and put on this mask of, like you said, I'm happy, I'm here, I'm a happy teacher, I love what I do, but inside, I was just meh. I was dead inside to it because I just didn't care, because I felt like I had more important things I needed to sit and think about. But then at the same time, I knew that I couldn't just sit and think about and Google the cancer over and over, and what's going to happen, and is he going to die, and but I also didn't want to do that, and I felt like I was just stuck between what I need to do because it's life, what I want to do because I'm sad and I'm upset and I'm hurting that my dad is sick, and then I didn't know where to go. So totally, I think I just used to get home as well, and I'd put my phone away because I knew that I would end up Googling and going on the same websites over and over again and just reading the same stories, and no one posts the happy cancer stories online. It's all, my dad died after 2 days. My dad died after 48 hours. Like my dad is still here, and it's 5 years later. He's actually coming to visit me next week. And obviously I'm so grateful. But yeah, that black hole of 18 months of, I don't know how I feel because this is going on, but I know that I need to do something else. And it's that push of, I'm going to do it. And I don't know if did you just get I can't explain it. Literally as if your spirit guides were like, get out there and just do it. It's just like a, whoa, okay, I'm ready. And there's not even a build to it, is there? It's just okay, I'm doing this.
It's just like one day, there's like a switch, And I think for a while, I think what kept me also in that negative cycle was that I was beating myself up for being in that negative cycle. I was like, why are we still in this? Why are we still acting this way? Why are we still pretending? It was just, and I felt I wasn't being kind to myself at the time. And after some time, I kind of like released that anger towards myself. And I was very much like, you know what? You needed these 2 years. You needed a very low vibrational life for a little bit of time to appreciate what's going to come next. And I think once I finally accepted that it was okay that I spent 2 years sleeping, like, and when I just said, this is fine, this is okay, this is what you needed, you knew what you needed, and now you know what you need to do next. Like now there needs to be a change, because if there isn't a change, it's just going to continue. So accept that you took those 2 years, and now after that, let's make one small change to the daily life. One tiny change. Doesn't need to be crazy, doesn't need to be super extensive or anything. It can just be very, very simple. Eat breakfast. Done. That's the goal for the week, So that's kind of how it was a one day, just like, okay, let's, and it started from that trip. It started from that trip in Bali. And I just felt very like I'm entering a new era. I can feel that it's coming, but I'm not going to just let it happen. Like I have to make it happen. So I came back with a plan.
Love how you put and I feel like a lot of people I speak to, when they feel like they're stuck and they're angry then at themselves, and it's a block then, because you've gone through whatever it is you're going through, if you're grieving, if it's worry, depression, anxiety, and we take that time, and no matter how long it takes, but then we start to get angry at ourselves for the time that we're taking. And I think as soon as you do accept that, right, this has happened, this is what I've done, and I think you also then give yourself permission to release that block and stop being angry with yourself, stop feeling the guilt. And I think also not feeling guilty for moving on or taking the next step. And it is definitely we're our own worst enemy. And I know that's a very cliche saying, but we're very unkind to ourselves when it comes to this. And I think, if it was your best friend, you would say to her, take as much time as you need, look after yourself, you're grieving, you're processing, you're going through a huge life change, slow down, take your time. But for ourselves, you're so bad, you shouldn't be doing this, you need to, it's having that compassion for yourself, I think. I don't know if you that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, because that's really what it was. It was just negative self-talk a lot of the time too, just being like, oh my gosh, you're just going to sleep again. You're not going to go for a walk outside. It's sunny. You're not going to go somewhere. You're not going to, I don't know. I felt like I was really negative towards myself. And it's true. I mean, if my best friend, if the tables were turned, I would have said exactly that. Take as much time as you need. You are like, give yourself some grace right now, give yourself some compassion, because you're healing. Like this is a healing part of you. And I now realize, I mean, after I've gotten out of that era, it was like I was in this little cocoon, I isolated myself, And I felt very like, okay, I need to just cocoon myself and eventually I will come out of that. But it took some time.
Yeah, now you're a beautiful butterfly. So 4 years later, when if you do feel at any point that this negative, because I know for me at times, and I say this on my podcast, I'm not perfect. Don't have it nailed, but I feel like I have a toolkit now that I'm like, right, okay, I'm anxious today. I'm feeling X, Y, and Z today. And I know that I can label it and I'll open my toolkit and go, right, what do I need today? What does my body need? What does my soul need? What are your go-tos now? So you've come through a huge event in your life and grieving, and I can't even imagine losing my sister. But now if you feel, the things creeping back up on you, tapping you on the shoulder and going, hello, we're here. What are your go-tos? How do you deal with that?
I think I've gotten really good at allowing myself to just feel it. In the past, I was very much somebody that pushed it down. I was very like, nope, not dealing with this today. I'm not going to think about this. I avoided a lot of stuff. I mean, there was a lot of avoidance for me in the past. And even before my sister passed away, I struggled with that. I was a very big people pleaser. I'd said yes to things I wanted to say no to. I was very easily influenced by other people. And I felt like I wasn't making decisions for myself all the time. And I feel like after this, after I started practicing yoga and really like taking my health into my own hands and being very much committed towards learning about myself and growing from that experience, I've gotten really good about just letting myself feel it. And of course, there are days. I mean, I'm not perfect either. I have days where I don't want to leave my bed. And I actually allow myself to just rest. I've gotten good at learning how to rest to be productive instead of trying to do as many things as I possibly can because I'm mad at myself that I didn't do them the night before or didn't do them the week before. Now I'm just like, no, you know what? Today feels like I need to rest. And I'm really able to understand that in myself now. And I don't even feel guilty about it. Like I don't know. So yeah, feeling it, getting really comfortable with just allowing myself to rest. I've obviously, yoga practice itself is such a huge tool for me because it is the thing that I do when I'm feeling something. If I'm feeling any sort of negativity, imposter syndrome, fear of anything, like literally any negative feeling that I have, as soon as I start practicing yoga, I'm just like, oh, wow, life is good, And I feel like a lot of my friends, my friends they love coming to my classes, and I love them for it, that they're supporting me. But maybe they don't have the same experience with yoga as I do. And they're probably so sick of me being like, but yoga changes your life. Like it's so much more than just, practicing fun things and being more flexible and being stronger. It's so much more than that, especially if you've gone through something and you know that that is the thing that's like pretty much single-handedly like healed me, not healed fully, but put me on that path of healing, that it's a non-negotiable for me now. It is the thing that I use the most to help manage my emotions and my feelings. So even anxiety, like it's the best.
It's for me, everything that you've just said, just stepping onto the mat, I feel like you're just stepping into your own little world. And when I first started yoga as well, I don't know if you were the same, there's an element of ego because that's what's there in other activities that we do. Like, who's the best? Who's the most flexible? Who can do this? And I think once I shed that part and, I used to put all the fancy poses on Instagram and just because I could do the fancy pose, no other reason. But once I let that go as well, my yoga practice really did shift. And that's when it really started to help me more mentally, because I was able to just switch off. I didn't care. I could do a whole practice and then look at who was next to me and go like, oh, hi. Didn't realize it was you, because it was just me, my body, my mind, and the stillness in my mind. So whatever was on my mind when I stepped in there was gone, or it was still there, but I was like, right, okay, I'm okay now. I can actually deal with it. I can put my thoughts in an order where I'm like, right, okay, what can I control? What can't I control? And it's the yoga off the mat, isn't it? That's, yes, more flexible, amazing, more mobile, amazing, but being able to just deal with your thoughts, work with your breath away from the mat, I think that's where the magic really happens. And I think for some people, it might not be yoga. It might be that just going for a walk. Sometimes if I'm like, right, my back is sore, because when you're teaching yoga and you're doing yoga, you sometimes need to slow down, or you need to rest. And even on those days, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done yoga today, but I'm going to go sit in the garden, or I'm going to go for a walk. And I'm not going to listen to music. I'm going to listen to the birds. I'm just going to look at the trees. I'm going to look at the flowers. And, if it's evening, look at the moon, so your yoga could be a walk, or it could be, I don't know, some people like driving, not here, but
not me.
here. But if you live somewhere, you can just get in your car and enjoy a drive. It's this taking your mind somewhere and learning about yourself, like you've just said. It's giving yourself permission and learning what you need. The same as, I just mentioned your best friend, knowing that, right, my best friend doesn't feel well, she feels this way, so I'm going to go around her house, I'm going to take her chicken soup, or I'll take a favorite movie. And it's that self-care for you, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Learning, giving yourself permission to just be and rest.
Yeah. And I think also just like permission to be human, like you don't have to be the most happy, bubbly, positive person every single day. And that's fine. Like allow yourself to be the most terrible person today, if that's what you need. I don't know. It's just, allowing myself to, just giving myself that permission was a big part of it as well.
And do you find, just one more thing just came into my head, you said once you'd learned also about your cycle, because that was a big shift for me as well. So just saying that, let yourself be, if you need to be angry one day. And once I realized that, okay, day 26 of my cycle is the day that I am angry for no reason, I just feel a bit, don't want to go anywhere. Before, I'd be like, right, why do I feel like this? And everyone's annoying me, and it would really, I'd be in my own head. Now I'm like, right, it's day 26, okay, just deal with it. Just, this is what's going on inside my body, and this is an emotion that's coming out. Was that a big shift for you as well, just learning about your body?
Learning about my cycle was a huge game changer, because I mean, I'm blessed in that I didn't have a ton of problems with my cycle. It's not that I had, I didn't have any hardships with like my menstrual cycle at all. Compared to some women. I know there's a lot of things women deal with. For me, I've been tracking my cycle for probably 9 years now, 8 years, using the same app. So like I have data forever, and and now that when you do it for so long and you're on like a really natural cycle, like my cycle is very regular. Everything is very regular every single month for like over the past 8 years. It's been like that. And now that I know exactly what's coming, I can check and see, okay, I know this one particular week, I'm going to have the most energy. I'm going to want to connect with people. I'm going to be my best, highest self that week, because I have the hormones that help me do that. And so that's kind of like, I've started planning my life a little bit more around my cycle. So if I know that first week, I'm going to feel really, really strong and excited and inspired and creative and all the things, then I plan to do things when I have that type of energy, you know? When I know that I'm in that luteal phase and it's like right before the period's coming and I'm feeling very low energy, tired, irritable, whatever it is, maybe I'm eating more things that I wouldn't normally be eating. I don't beat myself up for that. I'm just like, this is not something I can control. These are my hormones telling me this thing. And even during those weeks, I tend to have more anxiety, or I tend to have really like negative self-talk during those weeks. And for a while, I was like, why am I so mean to myself right now? Like, what is happening? Because literally 2 weeks ago, I felt like the queen. And, and then I don't know. And then it just switches one day where you're just like, you're talking poorly to yourself. And so, yeah, learning about each phase and what my energy levels are in each phase and what might come up based on what happened before, I can really plan my life around those things and give myself that grace to be like, all right, you know what? This is the week that I'm usually really tired and irritable. So I'm going to not schedule anything. I'm going to take that time to rest. This is my time to rest, and I'm going to feel good about it. So that's been a game changer for me too.
That also changed just even yesterday, actually, because I'm due tomorrow. But yesterday I was a little bit anxious yesterday. But even just having that connection of, right, I've only got 2 days until my bleed. This is why I feel anxious. And I think the anxiety went because I was able to just go, right, this is what it is. And I was a little bit jet lagged and just had that feeling in my tummy. And I was like, right, it's 2 days to go. It's okay. Whereas before, I would probably go and look for things to be anxious about, or I would just sit in the anxiety. But I was just in the car. I can see myself doing it now. And I was like, right, it's 2 days. That's why I'm anxious. And I think that just shifted. Just having that understanding. Like, I didn't even, just as you were talking then, I was like, oh yeah, that happened yesterday. And it was just that mind, body, soul, learning about your cycle, that connection. Again, if you're listening to this and you don't track your cycle, I think mine goes back to 2014 as well, about 10 years. Just start today. Just, if you can't remember when your last period was, but if you have any feelings today, I don't know, if you've watched an advert on the TV and you feel like crying, write that down, right? Because then in 3 or 4 days you might get your bleed and you're like, okay, that explains the crying at a donkey. And then just continue, and you will learn so much about yourself. And it gets fun to the point where now I look where the moon is, where I'm at, and I'll look what's going on astrology wise, and what sign is the sun in, what sign is the moon in, and you learn even more about yourself if you're that way inclined to go that deep. And it's interesting, and it's again giving yourself that permission then when you're not feeling your bestest, your highest, your most amazing self, that right, okay, it's because of all this, and it's understanding. So yeah, thank you.
It's a good way to like reconnect to your body as well. If you're somebody, especially for me with the grief, I felt like I just left my body. Like I was completely like, I just left her somewhere and I was in a completely different place, disassociating all of that. And learning about, getting back on track with tracking my cycle and remembering all the things like, okay, I know that if I eat these certain types of foods during this time, I'm going to feel better. If I'm tired during this time, this is why. It was just a very good way to just come back to myself. And that was a huge catalyst in my healing as well, because I was when you're just out of your body, like, how do you even begin? Like you have to you got to come back, feel everything, try to understand a little bit, and then it's much easier to move forward.
Yeah. So it's coming back to your home. Our body is our home while we're here. And yeah, looking after it, understanding it, being with it. And when you do go through a big thing in your life, that is the first thing I feel like we forget. What you've just said, you don't eat right, you don't sleep right, you don't drink enough water, and we kind of forget the the things that we actually need, because then we're so inside our heads. So it's coming back to our home, back to looking after ourselves, tending to our own gardens, that then it allows us to then grow. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything that you would like to end on? Any words of wisdom that you'd like to pass on to the listeners? I
will share something
random at the end. On the spot.
I'll share something that I shared with my yoga class last night because it really like resonated with me. It was a quote. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love podcasts. Whenever I'm in my car, that's what I'm listening to. So I was listening to almost 30 podcasts yesterday, and there was a guest. I wish I could remember her name right now, but I can't. She had this quote, and it just really, it kind of just, I mean, it's something that you already know, but when it's put into these types of words, it's really easily digestible, you know? So she says that whatever it is that you feel is blocking you in your life, you know, if it's like just negative self-talk, if it's feeling of uncertainty, if it's imposter syndrome, if it's just something that you feel is blocking you from becoming your best self or showing up as your best self, it's actually not in the way of your happiness or freedom. It is the way to your happiness and your freedom. So instead of avoiding it, pushing it away, pretending it's not there, not, you know, that's what gives it life. That's what gives it power. And if you just sit with those thoughts, if you sit with those feelings, if you embrace those emotions and just radically accept that part of yourself, then that's what helps you take your power back, you know? And I really, truly believe in that because that was my own experience. You know, I was not dealing with a lot of this stuff. I was not thinking about it. You know, I was avoiding a lot of the things, a lot of my own self patterns. Aside from the grief, you know, we all have our own growth journey that we need to go on as a person. And maybe you've had patterns in your life or patterns in relationships. And as we get older, they come out in relationships. You find out so much more about yourself through relationships. And I think at this point in my life, I wasn't dealing with any of those things, and I wasn't understanding like myself deeply on a deeper level. And it wasn't until I was like, wow, okay, why does that thing make me so mad? Right. Okay. So what does that mean? Where did I feel that before? You know, I really went through like an analyzing of my life, and it was finally realizing I'm not going to avoid these things anymore. I'm going to face them. If I'm scared about something, I'm going to do it because I know that I'm going to learn something really, really good from this. And I'm just going to do it scared, you know? And so, yeah, it's not in the way, it is the way. I love that quote.
Yeah. And it does make complete sense because it's the way. Go that way. Once you've done it, it's done. There you go. Enter.
Yeah, exactly.
So much. I think that will be the podcast title, actually. Thank you very much. And what I will do is I will put all of your information. Your Instagram is Thrive with Lindsay. There's no spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I will put the link in the show notes so everyone can just click it there. And yeah, anything else we can share. Put all the information. And yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Lindsay, for joining us this week. I've loved our conversation. And if anyone does have any questions, anything that you want to reach out to either of us about, I'm sure Lindsay won't mind, drop a message on Instagram or reach out to me as always. And yes, thank you very much for joining, and I will see you all next time.
Thank you.